What's going on, Protectors? It is Neo Dragon, and this is the first ever ZENFORMS Dev Log video. ZENFORMS Dev Log 01. Yes. So I already have a development blog. It's kind of, well, it's a thread on the forum. I'll link you to it in the description below. But I'm hoping to make this a series of videos, and in this first video I'm going to talk about how I subclassed the NPCs in the game. So before I started making the NPCs into an actual object class, I used to hard code every single variable for every single NPC in the game, which is absolutely insane because every NPC needs certain variables. So they need to have a gender, they need to have a skin tone, you can see they need to have an outfit color, hairstyle color, position in pixels, all this type of stuff. You can even see there it has if it's running, if it's in an event, and I've done this for every single NPC, and the game is possible to have up to 30 NPCs at one time, so NPC 1, NPC 2, NPC 3, and all I did here was copy and paste it in content and just change the prefix from NPC 01 to 02, 03, 04, and so on. And look at the amount of lines here. Look on the left hand side, you can see the number of lines of code. Like, look at this, just literally for setting up the variables for NPCs. So this doesn't even change them. It doesn't make the NPC walk, it doesn't do any of that type of stuff. It's absolutely insane. I think you get the picture. This here is the new NPC code. It's actually an object, so if you want to look that up, you can look up NS object in Objective-C, and that'll explain like what objects are in Objective-C. But anyway, this is what I call ZGN_person. So I prefix it with ZGN, which stands for Zen Garden Node underscore, and it's a person. So you can see that's a CC. It's based on a CC node, which is a class from Coco City. I import the global variables. I import stuff like variables that are needed for the NPC itself. So like the global variables, the quest, the battle, and the side quest manager, which is if the NPC has a side quest, which is from version 1.3. And you can see down here I give it all the variables, so I prefix all the variables with an underscore as well, so that's to make sure that the variable doesn't clash. It's just to be safe that it doesn't clash with anything that maybe is declared locally in another class, whatever. So you can see there's the NPC ID, so every NPC has an ID, which of course you'll see in later on in the video when I show off the kind of NPCs on the map, and I show you the kind of each NPC has a little blue tile hidden drawn on, and that's kind of to indicate what the NPC is that the player is interacting with. So you can see there's the ID, there's the type, there's the face and direction, the gender, skin, it's all there. And this class, there's even the side quest manager down here and stuff like that as well. And this class handles the data for every NPC now. So instead of having to code this 30 times over for every NPC, I can literally just create a new object and assign the variables to it. So I can say, okay, this is a little boy, he's NPC 1, give him his variable, give him his look, and I can say, okay, that's it then. And if I want to reference him later, all I have to do is just reference the object, and that's it. It's easy, it's done, and that will get me. So I actually have it's built into the engine where I can say, get me NPC. It actually is something very similar coded to return NPC 1, and it will return, like, so for a little boy, for example, when you're interacting with him, it will, well, I don't know why I keep saying little boy, but you say NPC 1, and it will actually bring back the object, and it's just so much handier now. So this is the new code, but with this came a problem. I wanted to keep all of the NPC methods within the actual, this new class, the ZGN_person class. Unfortunately, this meant that when I drew anything that was attached to the player, because the player was drawn on the map, and then anything that was drawn on the player was stuck on the player itself, and then anything that was drawn on top of the map, such as the nighttime effect, it would actually overlay on top of the indicators, and this is not what I want at all. So I had to think of a solution, and this is what I came up with. It's genius, right? Yeah, I know. What are you actually looking at here? Well, I'll show you in game what you're looking at. So here it is in the game. Normally it is invisible, but I have it enabled just kind of for the emphasis of this video. Any NPC character that has an indicator, so for example the quest indicator, the battle indicator, and the arrow indicator, which you can see here demoed, will have what's called the UI overlay. So that's actually what's been drawn here. That box is the UI overlay, or the UI overlay layer. And what it is it's actually a static sprite that is always displayed in front of the NPC, on top of the NPC. And I'll have a graph here actually that explains a bit more in detail because it is a bit weird, so check this out. Okay, so this image isn't quite a graph as it is just an actual image, but this is the UI overlay, and this is kind of the easiest way to explain what it is. So you can see what it is there. It's just basically this blue rectangle with a white kind of outline on it. And the UI overlay is for, as it says here, is for drawing pop-ups such as the arrow indicator, and always drawn in front of the NPC. So on the left hand side here you can see, here's what it looks like in 2D, which is what you kind of saw in the video there. You can see I have these two characters, and of course it is layered, and that's what it looked like, as if it was drawn. But in 3D, I have it kind of flipped here, and you can kind of see this is what it would look like if the game was in 3D. And this is kind of the way you have to imagine kind of the Z-axis works in a 2D game. It's everything's kind of drawn on top of each other, as if it is a 3D game as such. So you can see there is a bit of space in that the UI overlay is kind of layered over, and instead of the arrow actually being drawn on the character, the UI overlay is actually drawn on the box. So when you see it in nighttime, the character is drawn on the map, the tint for the overlay is drawn on top of the map, but then the actual UI overlay is drawn on top of that, so any indicators will appear over, and that way it's not tinted by the tint effect. Right, so back in the game you can see any character that doesn't have the NPC doesn't need to have that overlay drawn. So you can see the two characters behind the female character, they don't have indicators, so they don't actually have to have it on. But what's cool is the indicator always is drawn on top of the player, as I said, but it actually follows the characters here. So I have a little script here that this is when I go into my debugging menu here in my kind of debug build. Has the little debug menu, tells me the storyline stage, has my map ID, has my player, and has the version number, and of course has the frames per second on the bottom left as well. If I press this purple button here, the action button, you can see it does a little effect. My character jumped, but this female character moves. The emphasis of this was to show that UI overlay layer, let's do it again, it will actually stay on top of the character. It follows the character around as the character moves, and it also then just makes it look seamless. So if that box was not drawn, you'll see then that the arrow just seamlessly follows the character around, and that's the way it looks like. Now, this also brings me on to a second point that I wanted to talk about in my kind of devlog here, is something that I tried to get into version 1.3. I didn't quite do it, and I would have loved to have for quests. It's actually an NPC follow system, or kind of, it's referred to sometimes in 2D RPGs as a caterpillar script. So that's where characters follow each other, and it's almost like this caterpillar effect where the lead's moving and then the other one kind of trails behind. I actually almost had it working. So here I have, if I turn on the people here, you can see each NPC has its own ID. So you can see there's player 1, or person 1, person 2, person 3, person 4. So person 3 was that female character, person 4 was the character behind it, and person 5 was the other male character behind it. Now of course it's kind of overlaid there, so you can't really see. But I had it set up so that I could create an NPC for another NPC to follow, or I could tell the NPC what to follow. So let's say if it was the player, I could say follow the player, or I could follow whatever. So here I have NPC 4 follows NPC 3, and NPC 5 follows NPC 4. So if we watch it here when they move around, you can see there's NPC 3. So the action actually has, so the script I'm calling there is for the NPC 3 to move. It's like down, down, left, left, up, up, right, right, down, or whatever it is. So let's do it again. You can see NPC 3 is doing it, but NPC 4 and NPC 5, the two male characters, are following each other along that trail. And it was actually amazing here, but I have the mouse here just kind of emphasize here. There is a slight beheading of the character here. The head of the character didn't stick with it. It was slightly buggy. If we go again, there you go. Look at that, especially when he turned left there, especially. His head, now his head is pretty much off his body and adjacent. Now of course, if I had a bit more time, I would have been able to refine this and stuff like that, but I was trying to rush to get kind of version 1.3 out before the, you know, the dreaded Apple cut off in June. So this would be epic, and I think it would have been epic to have like NPCs and maybe have to lead an NPC somewhere and stuff like that as well. I have the basic code there, so hopefully for version 1.4 we can get to it, you know. But yeah, so that's it for this video. I'm going to show off a bit more. You can see this is my test map, as I said. So, you know, we've got a quest here, we've got the fast travel box there, and I'm going to explain all this in future detail. But I hope you enjoyed my first development log. If you did, be sure to leave a comment below. Of course, as you know, if you've been commenting on videos before, I get involved in discussions. I'll post this on the forum as well. I'll probably post it on the Facebook page. So of course, get involved in discussion. Ask if there's anything kind of technically in terms of, like, you know, like what went into the development of 1.3, and specifically like even like I don't know how the quest system works, whatever. What you want to see next, let me know and I'll make a video on that soon. Okay, so thanks for watching, and of course see you soon.